Hip internal and external rotation are two foundational movements that often go unnoticed until they're limited. Your ability to rotate through the hips influences how fluidly and confidently you move, supporting everything from walking and lunging to pivoting and balancing. In this class, we'll explore rotation through a variety of positions. First, building awareness, gradually increasing range, and reinforcing control under load with more complex movements. Think of this class as creating more space in your movement vocabulary, not just more motion, but also more options. For this class, you will need a glider. If you don't have glider and you have a hard floor, socks will work. We have a yoga strap with a bigger loop, not huge, and then a yoga block. We will begin lying on our back, starting to build awareness of what hip internal and external rotation are. So take a moment to adjust the weight on the back of your pelvis. And when you're ready, bring your legs long to the ground and resting the arms in a comfortable position away from your body. First, just begin to sense your body in space and notice the parts of your body that connect to the earth beneath you. Notice the heaviness of the back of the pelvis and the heaviness of the legs. Feel the weight on each side of the back of the pelvis and notice if one side feels a little closer to the ground or a little heavier to the ground. And just make a mental note of what side that is. And then track down your legs. Do you feel that one of your knees turns in or out more than the opposite leg? Notice if you have a foot that rotates closer to the ground, either rotating out or inward. And as you track this, notice if all of those things are on the same leg or if they are different leg to leg. And just make a point of noticing which leg that is. We'll return to this later. And then as you're ready, bring your legs a little closer together with your toes pointing straight up towards the sky. And slowly start to rotate your legs and toes out and then in. So keep your ankles deeply flexed, pulling the toes towards your shins the whole time. And make sure that you're rotating not just your feet in and out, but your knees and the leg bones move with your feet as you rotate them in and out. And as you do this, notice if you feel a difference in one hip towards the other compared to the other. Do both rotate smoothly out? And do they both rotate smoothly in? Do the legs stay close to the ground? Or do you feel one pull a little bit more away from the ground as it rotates out or in? Let's take a couple of more of these rotations, making a mental note of what differences you feel. We're not trying to judge or change to make them rotate the same. We're not meant to be perfectly balanced. Just make a note. Good. Release that and bring your right foot to the ground. So bending the knee, standing the right foot on the ground. And as if you were opening and closing a book, allow the right knee to fall out to the right and then bring it back to center, allowing it to then fall over to the left, kind of crossing part of your left thigh. And continue this exploration, moving the right knee in and out, but tracking what is happening deep in your hip joint. So where the top of your leg bone, you have a ball at the top of your leg bone that moves in the pelvis. You have a socket in your pelvis. So just notice if you can kind of sense that movement as you open and close your book. You may notice that the weight transfers to the edges of your feet as you move in and out. This can happen. But also notice areas where it moves with ease and areas where it doesn't quite move as easily. How much do you feel the left side of your body try to join in with it? Does the pelvis rock? And how much or how little? Bring the right leg back long to the ground and just take a moment to notice what has changed. You might go back to what you checked in with at the beginning of how much one leg is rotated compared to the other. And then let's go to the left leg. So stand your left foot on the ground with the knee pointing up towards the sky. Allow the left knee to fall over the right thigh, and then open your book. And continue the exploration on this side. First, noticing where you feel the movement happening the most. Maybe your awareness is on the knee moving in and out. Can you track it all the way down into the hip joint? You may notice the weight transferring from the inside into the outside edges of your feet. And then start to notice how easily, or areas where it might not move as easily. This might show up as resistance in the muscles, or you may feel just plain resistant in the joint itself. So just notice what you notice. You may also kind of track the difference between your right leg and now your left leg moving through internal and external rotation. And then bring that leg long to the ground and recheck. Has anything shifted or changed? And then bend both knees, roll to either side, and press yourself up. We are going to use the yoga strap and your block. And we'll start by taking that loop and placing it around the arch of your foot and then around the top of your knee. And you're going to tighten the belt down pretty tight so it bends your knee to 90 degrees. And then once you're set up, you're going to rotate so that the clasp is closer to your foot than towards your knee. We'll need that later. So you'll have the tail kind of lie out to this side. And then I put it on my right knee. If you put it on your right knee, you're going to lie on your left side. If you did the opposite, you're going to lie on the side that does not have the yoga strap around your foot and knee. And once you're there, bend both of your knees up so that your knees are in line with your belly button. Take a block and place it between your knees. And you can come to rest on your left side if you have the right knee banded. Keep squeezing the knee or the block between the knees and lift your lower leg off of your bottom leg as far as you can. And then bring it back down. So we're practicing internal rotation. So as we lift the lower leg out, feel how the top leg bone rolls inward. So we're just lifting and lowering, finding a range that works for us. One thing that you may find that you do is that you try to hike your hip to lift the foot higher. So bring your hand onto your pelvis and gently pull the pelvis downward to help keep that rotation just in the hip instead of hiking. And then lift the leg as high as you can. Push your arch into the yoga strap and hold here. And as you hold, if you feel you can lift your lower leg a little higher, continuing to squeeze the block between your thighs, you can do that. You may feel a lot of action going on in the outer hip and right around the outer groin, and it may even cramp. So just be aware that that is something that can happen. You can lessen it by bringing the foot down a little bit more or moving slower. Good. Bring the inner edges of your feet to touch. You can move the block and stack your knees. And then right hand on your hip. Now we'll explore that external rotation. So lifting now the knee off, keeping the inner edges of your feet glued together. So lifting and lowering. And one of the things that we'll do to make us feel like we're getting extra range is we'll rock the pelvis back and open. Instead, keep the pelvis right where it is as you lift and lower. And notice where you feel activity in your muscles as you lift and lower. One more time, lift and hold. Keep the edges of your feet glued together, pressing the lower leg, the leg closest to the floor, down as you keep the top leg lifted as far as you can. Again, we're not rocking back. We're keeping the right side, the top side of your pelvis stacked on top of the left. Then release that. Bring the bottom knee forward a little bit more. The top leg, the leg that has the yoga strap around it, just swing it behind you as you come up into a Z-sit. So a Z-sit kind of looks like the letter Z. Your left knee is in line with your left hip, and the left knee is bent to 90 degrees, so that front knee. The back knee is in line with your hip, so it's not forward and close to your foot, it's back behind. So the front of your hip makes a straight line, and you're kicking the arch into your foot to continue, or into the yoga strap, to continue to try to keep that 90-degree bend. So we'll transition into working in the front hip and external rotation. So take your block and place it under the outer edge of your foot. Avoid the ankle, that can be uncomfortable. And then actively press the outer edge of your foot down into the block as you move your left knee towards the floor. It most likely will not touch the floor. Some of you may have rotation that allows your knee to actually touch down to the floor, but that's not the goal. The goal is to actively press through both to try to roll this left leg bone open a little bit more. Continue to press down and maybe start to crawl your hands forward of your front knee. And you may find, if you have access to external rotation, that you can bring your elbows down to the ground, but we're not forcing. So we're just finding that kind of edge of resistance in your hip joint. Continue to press the outer edge of the foot into the block as you move your knee towards the floor. Walk the hands back, coming more into that seated position. If you need to bring your hand and rest it on the floor, that's fine. You can also prop your hips up on a blanket if this is not accessible all the way down onto the ground. Take your right hand or your hand of your back leg and reach underneath, grab the ankle of the front leg, lift the leg off with your hand, lean back slightly, start to pull your ankle towards your head. Maybe if you can take your hand off the ground, you can push your knee open. So moving more into that external rotation. Whatever muscles you need to hold your leg where it is, find them, engage them, and let go of your ankle and hold. So now we're actively trying to pull our heel towards our head, and the knee rolls open towards the floor. So we're not turning the bottom of our foot or our toes, more the heel. Good. Bring the foot and the knee all the way back down onto the ground and come forward again. So maybe you come to your hands, maybe elbows come to the ground. We're going to switch back into that back leg. So moving into that internal rotation again. Press the arch of your foot into the strap and kind of kick the foot out so you're in that 90 degrees. Make sure the front of your hip is open, so the knee's not forward. It's back in line with your back hip. And then start to lift the lower leg off the floor. And then touch the lower leg down. So you're keeping the knee on the floor as you lift the lower leg and foot off the ground and touch down. Do that 2 more times, just feeling how as you lift the lower leg, inside the hip joint, the leg bone is rolling inward. This time we're going to hold it. And again, you may feel that kind of sensation of cramping in your outer hip, maybe even the front of the groin. Lower the foot down to the ground and bring your elbow in line with the front hip. And we're going to move between internal and external rotation of this back leg. So first, start by shifting the pelvis so it's forward and stacked over the bottom hip. Hand on the hip helps us have kind of an awareness of how much it moves as we bring the heel in line with your sit bone. And then rotate in, knee in line with your sit bone, foot up. Try 2 more. Good. Knee down. And then swing both legs in front. We're still strapped in one of our legs. And just start to roll the knee in and out. So we're not trying to shift the pelvis. We want to see how much space we have in the hip joint. And then just for comparison, do it with the leg that's not bound. Awesome. Keep the yoga strap on your knee. And we're going to come to hands and knees. You will have to tighten your yoga strap a little bit, kicking your heel a little closer to your hip. Bring the knees close together. And with the knee on the ground, just rotate the foot and the lower leg in and out. Notice the rotation deep in your hip. And notice that you're not shifting the pelvis side to side. You're just rolling that ball inside the socket. And having this sensation of how it feels to move the hip rather than the pelvis helps us when we go further away from the floor. So now, bring your right foot forward. You might have to loosen the strap up a little bit. We still have the right, or whatever leg you have bound. Bring that leg forward and kneel on the opposite leg. Square your hips and chest forward towards the front knee. Bring your right hand to the front of your right knee and kind of just push it back. Feel the top of the leg bone move deep into the hip socket and then push it out. So just kind of feel what it feels like to slide the leg bone into the socket and move it out. Slide it in, move it out. As you slide it in, move the bone towards the floor. So kind of drop or descend the leg bone towards the floor. Keep it there, reach your arms over your head and twist your chest towards your front leg and move the back side of your pelvis also towards your front knee. Stretch your fingers out in opposite directions. And again, find that leg bone and move it deep into your hip socket. So the leg bone, the back of the leg bone moves towards the floor. Square forward. To come out, it's usually easier to just point your toes and slide it off your heel. Come to hands and knees, Turn your knees wide, toes touch, and just sit your hips back towards your heels. And notice what you feel in both of your hips. The one that was bound in the strap compared to the one that was unbound. And then we'll repeat all of those things on the other side. So take your yoga strap. You might have to loosen it a little bit in order to bind this other leg. And you're going to bring it around the arch of your foot and then right above your knee on your thigh. And then scoot the yoga strap towards your foot and tighten it down to make sure that the knee is bent to that 90 degree. And then the leg that is unbound is going to be on the bottom. Knee bent to navel height. Stack the bound knee on top. So you can come to rest on your side. And first we'll practice that internal rotation. So lifting the lower leg of the upward leg away and then down. Hand on the pelvis helps to keep the pelvis relatively quiet. So you can feel the leg bone where it meets the hip socket roll in as you lift your lower leg and foot. You're squeezing the block between your knees. This time we're going to lift and hold. Use your hand to kind of pull your pelvis down so you're not hiking up like that. Push the arch of your foot into your yoga strap and notice what sensations you have going on in your outer hip. Good. Release. The arches of your feet come together, so they glue together, and I have both my feet flexed, which I think helps. And then we're going to go the opposite way. So bring the knees stacked together, hands on the hip again. Make sure you don't rock back to open that top knee. So keep the pelvis relatively quiet as you lift your top knee off your bottom knee. Keep the feet together. The next time you lift and hold. As you hold, make sure you're not rocking back. Good. And then bring the knees back together. Pull your bottom knee slightly forward as you take your top leg back, finding that nice open space in the front of your top hip. Keep it where it is and come to sit. So we make sure knees are in line with our hips. And then take your block and place it under the outer edge of the leg that's out in front of you. Make sure the ankle's not on the block so that when you press down, you're not creating extra discomfort, but press down through the outer edge of your foot with your ankle really flexed, and then also pressing the knee towards the floor. Again, the goal is not to bring the knee to the floor. The goal is to just create tension to activate external rotation in the front hip. You can start to crawl your hands out in front, but continuing to press down both the outer edge of the foot and the knee. And then crawl your hands back. Your hand that is opposite of the front leg reaches underneath to grab your ankle, not the foot, but the ankle. Lift it off and actively try to pull your heel towards your head. If you can sit up and use your hand to push the knee open, you'll feel more of that rotation in your hip. Keep the ankle flexed, and whatever muscles you need to keep the foot where it is, do that. Continue to think of rolling the leg bone open as you roll your heel towards your head. And you may notice that one hip was way easier to do this with. Release the foot and the knee to the ground and crawl the hands forward and release. In this same position, we're going to start to work with the internal rotation of the back leg again. You can use the tail if it's hard to lift the back leg. You can use the tail of the yoga strap. Reach the hand close to the foot and pull the leg up. And what I'm not doing is kicking my heel towards the hip. I'm trying to kick the arch of my foot out into the yoga strap to help keep that 90 degree. And once you have that sensation of what it feels like to lift the foot, lift and lower the lower leg as you keep your back knee on the ground. And then come up and bring the elbow above the front leg hip. And we'll alternate between external rotation, heel in line with sit bone, and then rotating, knee towards the floor, foot up, internal rotation. As you're moving between these two, keep your head on your pelvis to make sure that you're not just rocking your pelvis forward and back, which is what we do when we lack internal and external rotation in our hip joint. We try to find it someplace else, and rocking the pelvis is one of those places. Good. Now come onto your knees. Bring both of your knees together. You may need to tighten up the yoga strap to bring the heel closer to the hip. And then as if you're wagging your tail being your foot, bring the foot closer to the back of the opposite thigh and then far away. And as you do this, again, we're not trying to move the pelvis, we're trying to isolate that movement in the hip joint itself. And you may notice that one side is way easier to do this. This is my tough side. From there, we're going to come up into that half kneeling position. So bring the bound leg forward so the foot is on the ground. The back knee is on the ground. Hand to the front of the knee, push the knee forward. Feel that the leg bone kind of lifts up as you push the knee forward. This is what we do when we lack rotation. We pivot the hip and we lift the leg bone up. If you find that hip flexion, push the knee back, feel the leg bone descend down towards the ground. Feel the difference between the two. So kind of going in and out. Feel the leg bone lift and descend, and then find that leg bone down. Push the arch of the foot into the band. Reach your arms over your head. And as you twist, try to keep the leg bone moving down towards the floor. So keep that deep hip flexion. Rotate the chest towards your outer hip, the front hip, and stretch through both of your fingertips. And notice you might feel, as I do, that my hip bone just wants to lift. And I'm trying to think, roll the leg bone down or descend the back of the leg towards the floor. Awesome. Square the chest forward. Find a high heel to take the yoga strap off the leg. And again, return into that wide leg child's position. You don't have to go all the way head to the ground, but move the hips back towards your heels. And just again, notice what has shifted and changed. I sometimes like to just shift my hips side to side to feel how my leg bones freely roll in those hip sockets. Awesome. We're going to come to stand. So for this movement, you will use your glider. If you have a hard floor and you would rather do this in socks, that's also a possibility. So we're going to stand with the glider under our right foot. And our base leg, our standing leg, is going to be our left leg. So when we do this, we're going to do a cross-body position. So with our right leg and our right arm, they're going to go in opposite directions. So the right leg is going to slide back and out as the right arm reaches across and forward. What we're really paying attention to is what is happening in this left hip. So what we'll feel that we want to do is shift the hips over and turn the knee out. Instead, can you keep your knee and your hip in the same line? So the hip doesn't pop out, it doesn't shift to the right, it goes straight back. Your upper body is rotating towards your left knee. So left hip goes straight back. Right hip glides out to the side as right arm reaches over to the left and forward. I like to tap my left hip crease or tap my outer left hip to remind me back, not out, not over. Straight back. Good. Let's do 2 more. And you may feel that you're doing a lot of work in that outer hip. That's good. That's the intention. So take a break on that hip. Move the glider underneath your left foot. And we'll do the same thing on the right side. So left leg is going to glide further out to the left. Left arm is going to reach out to the right. Hip, right hip goes straight back. And as you switch sides, you may have found that the left side did this naturally, and it's really hard to find that straight back movement of the right hip. Or it might be the opposite. So just kind of notice, where does the hip want to move? Do you feel it pop out? Do you feel it push over to the left? And can you instead keep the outer hip in line with the outer knee? So the right outer hip stays in line with your right outer knee. Let's do 2 more. Good. Take a break. And take a little walk around. So allow the tension to release. So that movement was internal rotation in both of our hips. We were rolling the back hip towards as we went into flexion. It needs that access to internal rotation. We're going to go into a squat, only going to where the hips come in line with the knees. So take your feet slightly wider than hips distance apart. It doesn't matter, actually. You can find however wide you need, but only have your toes slightly wider than your heels. Bring your hands to your hips. And as you bend your knees forward, take your hands to the outsides of your knees. Push out slightly and come back up. So as you take your hips back, push the knees out as you glide your hands down your outer thighs. Inner edges of your feet stay on the ground. And hips reach straight back with a long spine. What we're not doing is folding forward with our chest. So we're not just bending the chest towards the floor, we're sitting the butt towards the floor. Let's do 2 more. So in this position, we are doing external rotation in our hips. Knees roll out as the pelvis descends. Good. For our final movement, We're going to go into a revolved lunge. So we're going to prop our front foot up on a block. So take it to the right edge of your mat and take your right foot up on the block. Step your left foot out about hip distance apart from your right foot. And then as you lunge, left knee is going to aim towards the floor. You're going to rotate and tap the outside of your right knee with your left hand and come back up. So descend left knee, descend right leg bone, twist, come back up. So as you do that, can you move your left knee out just a smidge as you turn your torso towards your right knee? 3 more. Twist and twist. Good. Last thing, opposite side. So bring your left foot up onto the block. Step your right foot back with your feet hip distance apart. We start squared forward. Come onto your right toes. Move your chest and your right hip towards your left knee. Tap the outside of your left knee with your right hand. Come back up. So twist. And the same thing we did as we were gliding, keep your left hip in line with your left knee. So don't let it pop out to the side. Adding that rotation helps to increase internal rotation and allowing more of that access to deep hip flexion in your front hip. Last one. Good. Come out of that. Step your right foot behind your left foot. Bend the knees and start to fold forward. If it helps to have the block underneath your hands, you can do that. Start to squeeze your inner thighs together. Your knees will start to straighten. They don't have to straighten all the way, but lift and spread your hip bones. Bend both knees. Unstep that way, and then step your left foot behind your right foot. Bend your knees. Push your hips back as you hinge from your hips and bring your hands onto the block or the floor. Start to squeeze your inner thighs together. Your knees will move towards straightening a bit. They don't have to straighten all the way. Lift and spread your sit bones. Good. Bend the knees and come all the way down to the floor. Roll your back onto the floor. Hug your knees towards the chest. And then use your hands to guide both of your knees open, down, in, and up. Allowing that more organic rotation. And then switch directions for a few cycles. Just notice how easily or not your hips are moving after we did all that internal, external rotation work. Bring your feet to the ground. Release your legs long to the ground with your toes pointing up. That first exploration we did, roll both legs out, roll both legs in. So just testing. How do the legs feel in comparison to each other now? If you were to compare them now to how they moved at the beginning, what would that be like? And then as you're ready, let everything go, opening your legs at a comfortable position, arms resting in a comfortable position, and come back to feeling the back of your body connect to the ground. Notice the weight on the back of your pelvis and what has shifted. Has anything changed? Notice where both knees point. And has anything changed? Finally, notice where your feet point. And then just take a moment to settle in. And notice your hips. The goal is never perfect control or rotation, but more awareness and availability to more options. The more we explore these small rotational movements, the better we get at adjusting with a little more ease and a little less tension. Rotation isn't always about range. It's about how smoothly and confidently you can pivot. The more aware you become of these subtle movements, the more choices you have, not only in your practice, but also when life asks you to change directions. Thank you for joining this practice. I hope you found it interesting, beneficial, and I hope to see you the next time.